to onboard Bushmills with the capability to do rapid mycotoxin testing, specifically Dawn. So we're going to review the Quick Scan Connect reader setup process, the things to make sure that that device is working properly. That's a scanner calibration, check comb, and a clean white card test. Takes 3 minutes. We'll next cover grinding and grind specifications. Next, we'll cover details about shaking and clarifying the sample. You guys have chosen to use the Bun coffee filter for clarifying, so that's what we'll train to. We'll talk a little bit about the reaction time and why that's critical to make sure that you're got a timer set and stop the reaction when the reaction time is up. And we'll talk about the capabilities and how to read the test strips that you have in the kits that you've gotten from us. And we'll then demonstrate how to do the test process. I hope that several of you have printed out the quick guide on how to run the Total Tox Dawn test. That's a good pictorial based guide. I recommend posting it up in front of any operators that are going to be running the test so that they just have to glance up. They don't have to memorize anything. You know, after a while, you'll definitely get the hang of it and not need to consult the quick guide. But that's a good resource to utilize and post up. The protocol is the same for corn and DDG. So if you're screening some corn and DDG, it's the same, which makes it very simple. And then in the case where you get a result that's greater than 8, we want you guys to be familiar with how to run the dilution protocol. And so that is a slightly different protocol, and it gives you a larger range of quantification. And at any time, if there's somebody that has some questions, just you can use the unmute yourself or ask a question in the chat. Just feel free to interrupt us. This is going to be a fairly informal training per se, and we'll cover any questions as we move along. So anything else before we get started?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just a quick check with you, Karen. You've received your Quick Scan Connect and you've received your test kits. Is that right?
I don't think I've received the test kits. They're en route today.
Okay.
I haven't checked everything though, but I know the equipment came.
Okay. Have you been able to get your host PC set up with the Connect, or is that yet to
We
come?
haven't done that yet. That's one of my to-do list things today after
Okay.
meeting. And I've got
Okay.
the total hub printout for the scan thing for the card. So
The Connect card printed out. Great. I just sent another email with that in there just as another place to get it. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Kelly. She's going to spotlight her screen so that what she's showing is her workstation, and I'll let her take it from here. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Mark. My name is Kelly Kempf. I'm the pre and post sales support specialist at Envirologics. So today we'll be going over our Total Tox Dawn kit and all the equipment that you need to use to test that for corner DDGs. So just starting off quick with the equipment. So our quick scan, you guys are having the Quick Scan Connect, so it's going to look a little bit different than the one that I have. This is the Quick Scan 2. So yours just will not have the screen at the top. You'll use your own laptop PC and it'll just be flat, but everything else is fairly the same. So you'll need to have this blue USB dongle that you'll have to plug into your PC, and then there'll also be a wire. So it'll have a USB-C to connect with your Connect, and then that'll connect via USB to your PC. So there'll be two things that you need to plug into your computer. Just in general, I mean, it sounds like you already downloaded the software, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either me or Mark. But once you get connected, just a couple of general things. We always recommend maintenance for the quick scans every day before you do any testing. And that's going to be the clean test, the check home, and calibrate. So anytime you turn off and turn on your quick scan, it's going to auto calibrate. But if you leave it on all the time, you'll need to manually calibrate it. So on my monitor, you'll see there's some buttons at the bottom. So there's a help and then there's a calibrate. So we just need to click calibrate, and then this pop-up will come up while it's calibrating, and you'll hear the instrument moving. And then once it's finished, it'll disappear. So all of this that we're doing is just to make sure that the instrument is working correctly before we do any testing. So now that it's finished with the calibrate, we'll do the clean test. So the clean test button is right next to calibrate. So when I click on that, it pops up and it says to put this white card into the quick scan. So this is the white card right here. So we just need to open our drawer. And then I'll just take this out. It's in a protective sleeve to help it protect it from any dust or dirt. And then I'm going to slide this into these silver clips that are behind this gray tray. So close the drawer, and then that's the pop-up just says that. Make sure you put the white card in the quick scan and make sure that you close the bottom panel. And then when I hit OK, it'll start scanning. So this is just checking for any dust or debris that could be on the scanner that's taking the images of your strips. So in this bottom left corner on my monitor, it says 1 bad cluster. And it might not be easy to see, but there's a little red dot right about here. And that's just picking up a speck of dust, most likely. Sometimes it can just be on the white card itself. So sometimes, yeah, there's a little speck on there. And it's okay to have a couple bad clusters. When you start getting like 10 or more, that's when I would suggest cleaning your quick scan. So let me just see. So if you started getting 10 or more bad clusters, what you want to do is you want to actually open up and clean the scanner. So you take out this gray tray, close it, and then you turn it over. And let me just show you an image real quick. So I'm just pulling up this help button that brings up the entire manual for the quick scan. So it's good. That's just referenced in your software already. So there's all these different options, but I'm going to go to cleaning and servicing, and it talks about running the clean test. And if there's an image right here. There's a bottom panel that you pull off, and then you open this drawer, and it'll show you the scanner, and then you just need to wipe it off with like a microfiber cloth, and there should be one included with your Connect as well. So this. All right, so I'm going to hit close. We finished our clean test, and the last one is our check home. So this is a card that has some fake strips, 6 fake strips with lighter and darker lines on them, and we're just doing this check home to make sure that the quick scan can read the differences between those lighter and darker lines correctly. It has this barcode at the top, so anything that has a barcode like this, the reader is going to know what it is. There's no check home button. We're going to hit retest. Anytime you hit retest, you're essentially just telling the quick scan to scan. So I'm going to put this on the tray, and the position doesn't matter. It's going to scan the whole thing and it'll find it. And then I'm just going to hit retest to let it know to scan. So this results screen right here, we're looking for all 6 of these to say okay. If something came back not okay, it would be obvious. You'd see like a red error. And something that could happen is if maybe, you know, you spilled something on your check comb or you left it out in direct sunlight and it caused those lines to fade. But if anything happens, you know, just reach out to tech support and they'll be able to help you with that. But so now that our check comb is done, I'm going to close that. Some people like to put their check comb under the tray so they don't lose it, and it's also not in direct sunlight. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues, so I'm just getting error messages. But so we did calibrate, clean test, check comb. That is all of the maintenance, so we know that our instrument is working correctly. Let's see. So next we'll go over grinding and grind specs. So anytime that you guys are going to be doing testing, you're going to want to grind a representative sample. We always recommend to grind something that's representative of that truck that you're testing. You know, it goes similarly with just, you know, the patterns that you probe in. So we want to grind essentially 200 to 250 grams of your sample. And we always recommend to use the bun grinder, but if you don't have the bun grinder, you know, anything is fine, as long as it grinds it fine enough. So a lot of people use.
Order it.
Oh, you did?
Yep, we got it. It's in a box, ready to
Okay,
go.
perfect. Perfect. So with the bun grinder, you want to have it set to the Turkish setting. So that's all the way to the right. And then, like I said, grind approximately 200, 250 grams of your sample. And then you want to just verify that it's grinding the right size. I'm sure it being new out of the box, it's probably fine. But over time, as you keep grinding and grinding, it's going to wear down and you'll need to calibrate it. So there's instructions on YouTube, but essentially there's just a set screw that you need to loosen. And then there's on the knob, there should be like a silver screw that you use a flathead. And essentially you turn it on the bun grinder and you use that flathead to turn that silver screw on the knob over until it starts like squealing really loud and then back off. So it's just bringing, just helping to calibrate that. So you'll notice the difference too in the grind if it's not calibrated correctly.
And
But
I sent over a how-to video
Okay.
from YouTube on the grinding, and it should be in Karen's inbox.
Okay. Yeah, we always recommend to at least calibrate it before harvest. And you start getting used to what the consistency should look like. It's almost gonna look like a flower, essentially. But we want 95% of our sample to pass through a 20 mesh screen. So the way that you do that, weigh out 100 grams, and then pass that through this 20 mesh screen, and then weigh what comes out. If it's 95 grams or more, then it's fine enough. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but this is kind of something that's gotten stuck at the top. I've gotten used to just how I can tell by look if it's really not calibrated, but it can be tricky. It's easier for me to tell by feel now. If I start feeling some bigger particles in my hands, I'm like, we need to calibrate this. But this is the ultimate way to check, is seeing if 95% more will pass through the 20 mesh.
Can you hold that screen up a little bit more to your camera?
We do have sieves in the lab, so we can check that. No problem.
Thanks, Kelly. It's got to be a 20 mesh. So if you're checking your screen, if it has a number 20 on it, usually that's the right one.
Yep. Gotta get this lid back on. All right. So that's it for grinding. So shaking in general, this one's going to be a 30-second shake. So you want to make sure that you're using a timer. It's very quickly. So we have other tests that are, you know, some have a minute, 2-minute shakes. This one's very fast, but you want to be using a timer or at least watching the seconds on a clock. This one is very time sensitive, and you want to make sure that you're shaking it consistently that whole time. There's an option to use a mechanical shaker. Might not be necessary for only a 30-second shake, but if you do have one, it needs to be at a speed of 300 RPMs or higher, and you need to make sure that the cup is on its side so that when it's shaking, it's like this way, because this will just it doesn't have enough room for it to hit against the walls and do a proper extraction in that 30 seconds. Next, with clarifying the sample. So you guys are using the bun filters. So I kind of have a couple stacked right here, but all you need to do is just take one of our filters and then just push it in the cup. And then I kind of just pull the outside, hold it, and then you can just stack them. So you have them ready to go. With clarifying the sample, you only need to let it pass through enough to actually test with. You don't need to filter the entire sample, and you'll see when I do the demo portion of that. Let's see. Reaction time, that's just running the strip in our extract. That's 2 minutes for this. It's a time sensitive step. So once start that timer, and then make sure that when you take it out, when that timer gets off, and we're going to cut off the bottom of the strip. And then after we're finished that, we need to make sure that we read it in our quick scan. All right, so just to go over a couple of things, in your kit, you will have your test strips in this canister, and you'll have this DB6 dilution buffer. These two components need to be refrigerated. You need to take them out of the refrigerator and let them get to room temperature before you start using them. Sometimes you can use your body warmth, put it in your pockets, hold it. It should probably take 20 minutes. It can stay out all day long, but you need to put it back into the refrigerator at the end of the shift. This just protects the longevity of the kit. The other thing you'll notice with these two is that this DB6 dilution buffer is lot specific. It'll say to use with strip lot, and this one says 675-25, and you just want to make sure that those match. You don't want to get it confused with another kit. So these is the only thing that needs to be refrigerated. The other things you'll have some plastics. So we have this bag of tips. This goes with your pipette. I just have mine in a little tip box right here. And you'll have these long clear tubes. We refer to them as reaction tubes. And I have just an empty cup of those right there. The other thing with the kit is you'll have some paperwork. So you'll have the product insert, and this just has important information about the test kit, the protocols. There's a table in the back that has a shortened version, but it's just good to look over and just keep on hand in case you have any questions about anything. The other thing is you'll have this card. This is our barcode. So this is our multi-matrix barcode card. So we refer to it as the MMBC, and it has kind of like 4 different quadrants, and it'll list, the commodities or matrices that you're testing. So this one, top one, has MG2 is corn. And then down at the bottom, we have MG6 DDGs. And MG just stands for matrix group. And all of those correlate with the table that's on your product insert. So it has information about the matrix group, the base range, dilution range. So
Kelly, they're going to be testing corn and DDGs. Can you read the base range and the dilution extended range just on corn, just so that they're familiarized with it, and you can always reference it on the product insert that comes in each kit?
Yeah, so corn is going to be, let's see, 0.1 to 8 ppm, and then DDG is 0.2 to 8 ppm for the base range. So dilution range is 2 to 30 for corn, and then 5 to 30 for DDGs. So, so with this card right here, you can either scan this when you open a new kit. You can scan them when you get a bunch of kits. If you forget to scan it, it'll warn you like you didn't scan this. If you're using a Connect and you're connected to the internet, it will actually download them when you go to read those test strips. So I'll just kind of show you how this part works. So we're just doing corn and DDGs, so it's just going to be this half that we need to scan. So I'm just going to fold it in half. And it just goes in the clip just the same way the white card does, face up. And then I hit read test so I can scan that. And then it'll pop up with a list of all those barcodes that we scanned. So there's our list. So that's all the barcodes that we scanned, and that's just this first half. So I always recommend to unselect everything, disable it, and then just select the ones that you need. So we're doing corn and DDGs. So I'm enabling both of those, and then I'm just going to hit OK. And the reason I do this is that every time you run a strip, if you have multiple matrix groups, saved, it's going to ask you every time that you run a strip to confirm which matrix group it is. And if you're only doing 2, you want to keep that list short. Otherwise, it's going to be all of this, and that can get a little confusing. So,
Ellie, they might be curious, why is there so many different matrix groups?
it's just all the matrix groups, commodities that this kit can test for, and that's what's listed on this table. So I think this goes down to 39. I don't think it's exactly 39, but yeah. So probably at least 25 matrices, commodities that this kit can test for. And, it even has a table in the back to kind of shorten the workflow for those. So you understand like what it looks like for each one, because some of them will have different protocols, but the majority will be the same.
Can you hold that up to the screen just a little bit, just so they can see that? So what she's showing there is on the far left-hand side, it shows the matrix name, and then as you move right, it steps you through each step of the protocol. And in some cases, the protocol is the exact same for multiple matrices, so it simplifies things. But in some situations, there are some differences. But in your case with corn and DGGs on Dawn, it's very simple. Same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Any questions before we start going through the actual protocol?
No.
All right. So I'm just going to kind of reference, my quick guide as I go through things. So we want to make sure we bring our strips and our dilution buffer up to room temperature. Also, anything else that you're testing with, like our water needs to be room temperature. And then we already scanned our multi-matrix barcode. The next, we need to set our incubator to 22 degrees Celsius. So when you first started on, it should already be set to 22 degrees Celsius. And it doesn't take very long to get to temperature. So it says not okay while it's getting temperature, and then it changes to okay when it gets to the correct temperature. So just want to make sure that it says 22 degrees Celsius on there. You don't need to use your incubator if you are between 68 to 75 degrees Celsius. Actually, I'm a little bit warm here. Usually much better control of my temperatures. Right now I'm at 76.3. So I have a little thermometer right here. So this is kind of a case where you need to have your incubator on. So,
So with the incubator, one thing, some people might be concerned about is burning themselves if the incubator's heating up. Um, with 22 degrees Celsius, it's room temperature, and you can touch the aluminum block and not burn yourself. So there's no risk of burning or, freezing your hand on what that machine is doing.
yep. The other thing you'll need is your 100 microliter pipette, and you might have a mini one like this. It's kind of just like a mini syringe. So this one has, it will say 100 UL on top of it. You might have one like this, or you might have one like this. And you just want to make sure that, it's set to 100. This one is adjustable. This one just does 100. So.
And I did ship them the fixed volume blue pipetter
Blue one?
that you're showing there first.
Okay, I'll use that one. All right, so we already talked about it. We grind a representative sample, so 200 to 250 grams. Once it goes through the bun grinder, you want to make sure that you mix it because essentially as it goes through, it all just layers on top of each other. So you want to give it a nice mix with a spoon and make sure you're getting a little piece of every single kernel. And then from there, we'll weigh out our subsample. So that is, I have a 20-gram sample weighed out into a 5-ounce cup right here. So we got DDGs. And then to that, we're going to add our water. So you can use distilled, deionized, or bottled. Those are all fine, just no tap water. And we're going to add 100 milliliters of that to our 20 gram sample. So I have 100 milliliters measured out in a graduated cylinder. I highly recommend using that. Some people do try to use the lines on the 5-ounce cup. So there are lines on here. I don't know if you can see or not, but these are not accurate. I mean, you can test it for yourself, but they're not accurate. So another option, if you don't have a graduated cylinder, or sometimes it's not easy to, some people will use like a jug of just DI water. It's not always easy to measure in here. You can also weigh it. So if you tear out your cup, you can, grams and milliliters are 1-to-1. So you would just weigh 100 grams of your water. But so we're going to add 100 milliliters of our DI water to our 20-gram subsample. And with the 20 grams, I don't think I said this, but you want to weigh between 19.9 to 20.1 is kind of like your threshold. So you want to make sure you have a scale that does to that point, 1. And then now I'm just going to give this a shake.
You're good. I was just repeating for Dawn.
Okay. So I'm just going to shake everything to make sure everything gets wet. Sometimes you get dry spots. Just give it a nice hit on the table, loosen that up, and then we'll start our 30-second shake. I'm going to turn this off because I don't like the fan and my temperature's going down finally. All right, so we'll do 30 seconds. So we want to be shaking consistently during this time, using a timer or watching a clock. With this one, it's sensitive. If you're going over, you can overcall, or you don't shake it, less than 30 seconds, you can undercall. But it's very quick overall.
One thing that's unique about the Envirologic system as she's shaking that is I can hold 4 cups at one time and shake 4 samples at one time. So I can batch my samples that I'm testing. So if I have a bunch that I need to test, I'll test, if I don't have a mechanical shaker, I'll shake 4 at a time. And then once I get done with the shaking step, then I'll clarify 4 at a time. So as Kelly steps through things, she'll talk about, some of the tips to batch workflow things as well.
Yeah. I recommend starting with one at a time, but yeah, it's easy to batch as well. So after we're finished shaking, we want to go ahead and filter out the solids so we can test with our clarified extract. So just gonna pour some of this into our Bun coffee filter, and they do need to be the Bun coffee filters. We don't need to pour all of it, and you can let this filter for a max of 2 minutes. After that, the filter will start to like disintegrate. So, but I mean, as fast as now, I have enough to test with. So I can already just take this out. I filtered enough. So just gonna discard that and put it in here. And then this is done. We can't reuse this. And then we have our clarified extract, and it's just a tiny amount, but we only need a little bit to test with. So, and this is good for up to an hour. So this is a good, stopping point if you have to start prepping another sample as well. So that was just 5A. 5B is just another option to clarify, but we're not doing that one. So now we'll go to our test procedure. So we're going to go ahead and grab one of our clear tubes, the reaction tubes, put that into the incubator. And we're going to add 100 UL of our DB6 buffer. So that is this guy right here. So we'll grab a blue syringe and we're going to put a fresh tip on it. You always want to use a clean tip whenever you go into your dilution buffer. And then with this, I'm just going to push down on the plunger, put the tip in the liquid, let go, and then take it out. And just make sure that it's filled. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put that into that empty tube. If you are testing multiple samples or doing a lot of tests that day, you can fill this incubator up with reaction tubes and the DB6 buffer completely. And then I always just say, if you want to do it that way, put this on there just to help prevent any dust or debris from getting inside. It's not going to evaporate. These tubes are really long and the temperature is low. So, and just a tiny amount in there. But that's one thing that you can prep too if you're doing a lot of tests that day. Just make sure that, you don't get them confused. If you want to use a marker and write a number on it so you know that you use that one, that's an option. So now, so we add 1 squirt of our DB6. Now we're going to do 1 of our clarified extract so that we filtered. Just want to give it a little swirl. Same thing, push down your plunger, put the tip into the liquid, let it fill up. So just want to make sure that it filled that up. And then I'm just going to add that to that tube. So it's just 1 squirt of each. And then we just need to make sure that we mix those, give it a nice tap, or you can also use your pipette and just push it up and down about 3 times just to mix it. Just make sure you don't push it all the way down to the bottom, because then you're going to block that tip and nothing's going to go up in the liquid. So that's mixed. That is also a good stopping point as well. If you have something else to do, because next, so if you are outside of 68 to 75, you need to have your incubator on and you need to let this mixture sit in there for 2 minutes. So I adjusted the temperature in this room and now we're 73.4. So we're good. We're in between 68 and 75. So we can go ahead and skip that 2 minutes. And then we can just go ahead and drop our strip. So our strips are in our canister right here. These are sensitive to moisture and humidity. There's desiccant built into this can. So you just want to make sure that you take them out when you're ready to use them and that you close the lid. Now with the strips, there'll be a barcode at the top, kind of a little similar to like the barcodes with the MMBCs. And then down at the bottom, there'll be this white tape that says Envirologics with arrows pointing down. So that's where we're going to put this into that tube with the arrows pointing down. And that goes in for 2 minutes. Once that 2 minutes is up, you need to immediately take your strip out, and we're going to cut off the bottom of the strip. So let me just show you. So what's happening in the tube is the liquid's going to travel up this strip. And right now, this part is all white. But once it's finished, it'll start developing these lines. So that's the reaction that's going to be happening. So when that 2 minutes is up, we're cutting off this bottom part, and it stops the reaction on the strip. And then that's what we're going to read into the quick scan. That's just an old strip that I already had. But we just need to make sure that we keep part of the strip that has the barcodes and the 2 lines. And then when you open up your tray, you want to make sure that you read your strips with the lines at the top. So there's like an impression of a strip right here. These, doesn't matter what slot that you put it in, it'll find it. But if you turn it this way, these little slots can cause shadows, and it can slightly affect the results. I've seen it happen. Or you can also just not put it in a slot. It can also go to the side. If you're running multiple tests, you can read, multiple strips at the same time. It's going to go across and find them. It goes this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's kind of like the strips 1, 2 this way, and you turn it over and it goes the other way. So we're almost finished. So I typically will put my information on the screen, but I'll show you after I read the strips what that looks like. So timer's up. Take out my strip. So you'll see that those lines have developed now, and then we're cutting off this bottom part with the white tape with the lines. And then we're going to go ahead and read that. And so this is, this screen right here is what I told you before about scanning those barcodes. This list would have been a lot longer if I didn't unselect them all and only select corn and DDGs. So every time, you run a test, it's going to ask you whether you're doing corn or DDGs. It's going to stay on the last one you set it to, but it just wants you to confirm that before you go to the actual result screen. So now we'll go to next. And then this is our results. So we got 1.2 ppm for our Dawn test. You'll see there's an image of a strip right here. This is also a good time to fill in some of that data. So on the home screen, I could have entered a sample ID, which could have been a ticket number. It could have been, a date if you're doing a daily composite. So, but all of these, what is it? Excels, sorry, that have this beige color in it need to be filled out if you're using Total Hub. So sample ID, what's today? I usually use the date for mine with the dash. So 10, is it 8, 25, and I do -1 for the number of tests I did. Supplier, this is going to be where is that sample coming from? The farmer. Every time you type in a new one, it's going to ask you to add it. So I've kind of have a list, and then I can either type in some letters and it'll start to auto-populate. So if I just do a K, it cuts down the options and I can select from there. Or you could just, if you have a short list like mine, you could just click on it. And then we have our action. So this is whether we're going to accept that. That's a good result. Redirect it, that we're rejecting that, it's going somewhere else. And then there's an option for pending, which I think is good for if you're not sure about that result. Maybe it came up as a greater than 8 ppm and you're like, I'm going to do a dilution and retest. Or maybe you just forgot to do something in the protocol and you just want to retest that sample. So those are our options right there. So I'm going to close this. And then it usually doesn't pop up with this. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues on this end. So this is because I'm connected to Total Hub. So it's just saying I don't have internet connection. So everything is pending to go in because there are data log. So I have a number 5 on my data log right now. And those are just pending things that are waiting to export into Total Hub, into the cloud. So this is the test that we just did. It also has our calibration, our clean test, and our check home. So that is also available on the data log. So if you get a question, if a tech, forgot to do that, you can see, or if you have any audits, just to show that you're consistently doing the maintenance on your instrument. That is going to be in your data log. And then this is the result we just did. I can also pull up a report if I want to look at that. And this is just a PDF that you could, print out if you wanted to. There's a lot of options and customizable things that you can do. But let me close this. And then, yeah, once I get connected to the Wi-Fi again, this number 5 will slowly go down. It's just a good reference to know that it's pending to go into Total Hub. And then this is the home screen where I typically would have put in my data. The operator ID, that's me, the location. This is something that you want to just name once and keep it the same. So if you want to use the name of your facility or the town, whatever you decide to name it, just keep it that way. And then this is the sample ID that I did, and then the supplier that we talked about. So that's on this screen. And there's different options too. If you're testing 2 sample IDs, it gives you options to put sample IDs and suppliers in for 2 different ones, or even up to 6. So there's just a drop down to choose how many you want. And you don't even have to fill all of these out. It'll just count the number of strips. It's just another option that you have. Let's see.
Kelly, can you talk about setting up the default weight? It's pretty common that people want to utilize the default weight.
Yes. So in our setup tab right here, so it's next to the data log. This is going to pull up all of your settings. So there's a couple of different tabs right here. So under settings, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see where Total Hub information is. So this shows that my Total Hub information is. It doesn't automatically, when you scan your Connect card, it'll just fill out this information, so you don't have to type it in. But this is the default weight. So mine's set up to automatically just put a default weight of 1. You have options of doing metrics, tons, or bushels. And then, you just hit OK to save that, and then it automatically does it. So it just takes out one other field that you have to fill out. If you don't care about sample ID, you can enable an automatic sample ID, because you need to have sample ID, supplier, the weight, and your location all filled out for your data to go into Total Hub. So if you don't care about the sample ID, I just recommend hitting enable, and then you can have it a prefix if you want to give it a specific, name or number, and then it'll just start counting. Or you can just have it just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can have it reset at midnight, or not at all, just keep counting continuously. But that's something that I like to do as well. Let's see. Yes.
So the weight there is not your 20 grams.
Say that again? Oh, no. So it's the weight of the truck.
Okay.
The weight of the truck, or the weight that's representing the sample that you're testing. A lot of ethanol plants, they'll start out by testing composite samples, and they'll see if any of those composite samples are showing high results. If they are, then they try to narrow it down to identify the culprits of that high composite sample result. So they might go to an individual truck testing scenario. In that situation, you're needing to have the resources there at the probe stand to test a truck before it dumps. So that would be some added resources to be able to do that. in high dawn areas, that's very common where they won't let a truck dump before it's been tested for dawn. So it all depends on your situation that materializes. I realize there's it's kind of a localized hail event with higher moisture growing season. That's kind of puts you in a situation where you have to manage that risk a little bit, or the risk is there. But I suspect you're going to start with a composite testing. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We may do some localized
Wow.
area ones just to
Correct.
see what's going on. But
Yep.
I anticipate there'll be individual producers that will come in and ask for a sample.
Mm-hmm.
so,
And in those situations, if a producer's bringing them in, what's commonly done is, you'll test it, and then if they're not bringing a load, a lot of times, what's been super common with most of my customers, they'll just charge them like 20-25 bucks every sample that they run. I don't know if you have the capabilities to bill somebody for that, but just kind of giving you some insight to what the industry does and how they manage those situations where somebody's bringing in a sample asking to have it tested with a strip test.
yeah.
And then I think we need to go over the dilution protocol as well, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's say we ran a strip and it came up greater than 8 ppm and we want to know what that actual number is. What we're going to do is we're going to use our clarified extract and we're going to dilute it down even more. So we sell like these blue tubes as well that to help distinguish between the clear ones. I'm just gonna draw on here so I know what it is. Okay, so in your package insert, if you go to that table, ooh, at this very end, it tells you the dilution protocol. So it says a 1 to 8 and water. So we're going to take 100 of our clarified extract and we're going to add 700 microliters of water to that. So I just need to get my water. So if you're using your little blue pipette, just need to do 7 squirts of water. So it's the same thing. Distill deionized bottle. Just make sure you don't lose count. So I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so we got 7 of our water, and then we're going to take our clarified extract and we're going to take 1 of those. So just give it a swirl before you do it. And then we're going to add that in here, mix it up. And then we're going to retest in another tube. So this was our original, this is our dilution, and this is our dilution that we're going to run. So and then it's just the same thing as normal. We're going to do 1 squirt of our DB6. And then 1 of our dilution that we made. So, and then just run another strip, 2 minutes. And then when you go to read them, so we'll read this strip right here. Just redo it. Acid from the matrix group, DDGs, next. And then at this point, right next to action, there's a select dilution. So we need to select dilution 1A, and then we'll get our actual result. So, and it's listed right here in the on the table as well to make sure that you select that 1A on the dilution tab to get your results of the dilution. So, and this, go ahead.
Yeah, the dilution defaults to the base range dilution 1-to-1 because it would be somewhat uncommon where every single test that you run would be a dilution.
Right. We hope.
We hope.
But we wouldn't be running very
In some
long.
situations, if you're basically getting greater than 8 on every single test that you run, you might just start with the dilution and do that first because that will save you time and it will save you a test strip, obviously.
And
Yes.
we'll be straight out.
But that's a good reason also just to hold on to your clarified extract. I mean, I don't have much in here, but I was still able to run a test and also make a dilution.
Any other questions so far?
You guys good?
Check standard? Verification standard?
So with the quick scan, we do our 3 device checks on a daily basis. So we know our quick scan is operating correctly. The data log that's in the quick scan proves that your quick scan is operating properly. So if somebody ever comes back to you and says, "Oh, I don't think your equipment's operating properly," you can always prove to them by going into your data log and prove to them that it was working on that particular day, even if it's weeks later. All of the test kits are quality controlled, checked before they leave the factory. And if you want to prove that your operators are running the test protocol correctly, we do have a quick check sample kit. And what that kit allows you to do is check the procedure or the protocol to make sure that the operator is running it properly. The kit is sold with 12 individually packaged samples, and those samples need to be weighed out for 25 grams, and then add the corresponding water to that sample and then run the test. And then the result, before you press the read test button, you're going to want to type in the sample ID that's on the outside of that bag. And that sample ID communicates with the Total Hub software, and it basically grabs that sample result and it places it in the quick check sample result reports within Total Hub rather than placing those results in with the rest of your corn or DDG test results, because they're really not a sample that's a part of your plant or what's coming into your plant. We also, with Total Hub, will give you information as to whether or not the operator got the correct or within the Federal Grain Inspection Service acceptable range. So there's some math behind that, and we do all that math for you. So you'll see a result that shows acceptable or out of range. If it's out of range, that means we need to do some troubleshooting with that operator to make sure that they're running the protocol correctly. The test results from the quick check sample program can be viewed in Total Hub. And I sent a link to Karen, and I think Mitch got a copy of that as well. And if Karen, if you'd like to distribute that to some of the other folks in the room there, please do so. It's a little demo, a screen recording of me talking for less than 5 minutes on all of the tools within Total Hub. So you can get alerts if somebody wants to be made aware that a sample result is above, say, 3 parts per million. Merchandisers need to get notified, or if a truck gets rejected because you're testing individual trucks, some people may want to be notified immediately as well. Those notifications come in via email, and you can reach out to that supplier and be proactive about having that conversation with them, because the truck driver may not necessarily be the farm owner or the decision maker as it relates to the relationship that you have. So that's a proactive way to manage things. You can also look at weekly averages, basically apply filters within Total Hub to look at your results. You can look at filter by supplier to identify problematic suppliers. I've had plants that they've been able to pinpoint problematic suppliers and they just quit buying corn from them because it was really causing an issue with the quality of their DDG product and they couldn't sell into premium markets that they wanted to sell into and they were losing that access to that premium market just by having, some supply, one or two suppliers that were causing an issue for them. So that tool set does allow you to narrow those things down and give you that information. You can set up as many users for Bushmills to access Total Hub as you want. So if you want 10 people on it, you want 15 people on it, or you want 2 people on it, there's no disadvantage or additional cost for you to do that. So please review that Total Hub demonstration video. If you have some more questions or you want me to dive into that a little deeper, I certainly can do that so that you feel more comfortable using some of the tools that just maybe wasn't adept enough during the demonstration that I recorded for you.
Good.
So the things that are kind of action items based on the training here is get your Connect, Quick Scan Connect hooked up to your host PC. That host PC needs to have a driver installed to communicate with the Quick Scan reader, and it needs to have the Quick Scan software installed. Both those are in a document I sent over to you already in terms of like direct links to do that, Karen.
Yep.
Once you get those things installed and your Quick Scan is connected, you can scan your Connect card. That would essentially put in your credentials. Just think of that like your username and password so that those test results start communicating immediately to Total Hub. If say, for example, you ran a bunch of tests and then you scanned in your Connect card, those test results that were read before you got your Quick Scan connected to Total Hub, they would not flow to Total Hub because we don't take any past data and try to push that in because people may have not used the proper data entry pieces that is required for Total Hub. So just wanted to make note of that.
Yeah, we're starting with that right off the bat, so.
Okay, sounds great. Like Kelly pointed out, start with one test, get comfortable running one test, and then if you'd like to run more than one, like I said, I can shake 4 cups at one time. If you've got a couple people, you could do 8 at one time. And stage out your filter cups so they're ready so you can pour into. Stage out your buffer. So in your incubator, you could have, a bunch of reaction tubes, fill them up with buffer before you start your testing process. That just saves you a little bit of time. If you're concerned, and it's probably, a good practice there's a cover that goes along with the incubator. You can set that on top so no dust particles can get into those little reaction tubes if you've got them staged out with buffer in them. I use a little fine tip permanent marker and write on those tubes so you can keep track of which tube belongs with which sample.
Yep.
So you don't get that mixed up. So you can write on your plastic cups that you're shaking, you can write on your reaction tube vials. That way you don't have a mistake where, you're thinking one sample is associated to a test result and that's not the case. So,
Right.
all right. Well, we're at 2. Any other final questions?
They're shaking their head no, so we should be good.
Perfect. Well, if something comes up, or if you feel like you're struggling, that should not be the case. Give me a call. We'll troubleshoot. We'll figure out what's causing the issue and get you squared away.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all for your attention. I will send out a copy of the training here and have it available for you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks, Kelly.
Welcome. Bye.
thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.